History has been made, not just for Namibia, but for all of Africa. In a powerful moment that's already igniting Pan-African pride across the continent, Namibia's first female president, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, has sent a thunderous message to the world.
We cannot continue as a country-sense continent, whereby we send our resources to be processed in other countries, which means we are importing jobs for our young people.
Her words were not whispered in closed diplomatic meetings. They were declared boldly, publicly, and unapologetically on Tanzanian soil, beside President Samia Suluhu Hassan, Africa's other sitting female president. And with that, something shifted. This wasn't just diplomacy. This was a manifesto for African self-determination. Because for far too long, Africa has been rich in resources and poor in results. We've dug the gold, we've mined the uranium, we've raised the cattle, only to watch the value leave our ports and come back wearing a foreign label. But now, a new voice is rising, and she's not alone. Just months after Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso stunned the world by nationalizing his country's gold, President Nandi-Ndaitwah has echoed the same cry. We are not here to be exploited. We are here to build. She's not just representing Namibia. She's representing every African child who's been told to wait, every jobless graduate watching minerals leave their country, and every mother struggling to feed her children in a continent overflowing with wealth. She has made it clear, Africa doesn't need handouts. Africa needs factories. Africa doesn't need pity. Africa needs power. And if you're watching this tonight, you already feel it. This is not the Africa of yesterday. This is the Africa of now. And leaders like Nandi-Ndaitwah are ready to take back what belongs to us. So stay with us. Because what she just did in Tanzania may go down as the beginning of a new African era. One led by vision, courage, and continental pride. In what may be remembered as one of the most defining diplomatic moments of modern African history, Namibia's newly inaugurated president, the formidable Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, didn't just pay a visit to Tanzania, she delivered a message that sent shockwaves across the continent. Standing shoulder to shoulder with President Samia Suluhu Hassan, her counterpart and fellow trailblazing woman leader, Nandi-Ndaitwah addressed not just a crowd, but an entire generation of Africans demanding answers. With steady resolve, she said, "We cannot continue sending our minerals abroad to be refined while our youth stay jobless at home. We are not just exporting resources, we are exporting opportunity." And in that single sentence, the air shifted. Because that statement wasn't policy, it was protest. Not just against economic injustice, but against the centuries-old system that has allowed Africa to remain resource-rich, yet value-poor. That was the moment Namibia officially aligned itself with the rising Pan-African economic resistance. A movement led by voices like Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Assimi Goïta, and now Nandi-Ndaitwah. A movement demanding more than change, demanding transformation. Her message was clear. Africa must no longer be a supplier of raw materials to fuel other people's empires. Africa must build its own. Value addition, energy independence, intra-African trade, and industrial self-sufficiency, these aren't dreams anymore. They are non-negotiables in the new Africa Nandi-Ndaitwah envisions. And for the first time in decades, it feels like that vision is finally within reach. For far too long, Africa has been treated like a warehouse, not a nation, a continent stripped in mind, not to build its own future, but to power the futures of others. Our oil fuels foreign machines. Our cobalt runs their smartphones. Our gold fills their vaults. Our uranium, it powers the lights in Paris, Berlin, and Washington. While our own cities sit in darkness. The raw truth? Africa digs, drills, and delivers. Then we turn around and buy the finished products at 10 times the price. But now President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah is calling it out plainly and publicly. If Europe, Asia, and America can power their nations with our uranium, why can't we? Namibia is the third largest producer of uranium on Earth. Yet millions of Africans remain trapped in power outages, industrial stagnation, and youth unemployment. How can that be when our soil is so rich? The answer: Africa was never poor. It was pillaged. What we lacked was not resources, but leadership willing to say enough. Today, that leadership is emerging, and President Nandi-Ndaitwah is standing at the front of it. She's not just talking about minerals. She's talking about power, not just electrical power, but economic, political, and psychological sovereignty. Because when Africa builds its own reactors, when Africa refines its own metals, when African youth find purpose on African soil, that's when the continent will truly rise. And that rise, according to Nandi-Ndaitwah, has already begun. Her choice of Tanzania for her first official visit was no coincidence. This is the land of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, the father of Pan-African unity. And as a former SWAPO liberation representative based in Dar es Salaam, this visit was also personal. "This is home. This is where I was shaped politically," she said, reminding the continent that African unity is not theory, it's history. She publicly thanked President Samia Suluhu Hassan for attending her inauguration and reaffirmed Namibia's deep gratitude to Tanzania for its role in the liberation of Southern Africa. President Nandi-Ndaitwah wasn't just in Tanzania to talk politics. She came with a blueprint. And at the heart of that vision is something many African leaders are only now beginning to embrace: the blue economy. She proudly pointed to Namibia's maritime success story, a country that once faced depleted fish stocks due to unregulated foreign overfishing, but turned the tide through bold, structured reform. "We took back control of our water," she said. "We implemented policies, we rebuilt what was stolen, and today our fishing industry stands as one of the backbones of our national economy." But she didn't stop there. Her speech wasn't just a celebration, it was a challenge to the rest of the continent. She spoke not just of fish, but of food security, jobs, industry, and sovereignty. "We must build agro-processing facilities. We must process our own minerals. We must build value chains, and we must do it here, in Africa." Because in her words, the solution isn't charity, it's infrastructure. The answer isn't aid, it's access, control, and production. And then came the part that truly electrified the Pan-African vision. Namibia and Tanzania are rich in uranium, a resource that fuels the nuclear power stations of Europe and Asia. France runs on it, Germany refines it, but Africa? Still in the dark. And President Nandi-Ndaitwah wasn't afraid to say what others avoid. Reliable energy is not a luxury, it is a necessity. If other continents have done it, why can't we? In a region plagued by frequent blackouts and energy shortages, she proposed a powerful alternative: a Pan-African energy revolution. A mixed strategy blending renewables, conventional power, and yes, nuclear energy, all sourced, built, and run by Africans themselves. No more selling raw uranium for pennies. Africa must power itself. And with that declaration, she positioned Namibia not just as a uranium exporter, but as a future energy hub for the Southern African region. This isn't just about light bulbs. This is about independence. The kind that's wired into power grids, bottled in factories, and rooted in African soil. It's about industry. We will no longer be the raw material depot of the world. We will process, we will build, and we will rise together. If others can do it, Africa can too. This isn't just a presidential visit. This is the dawn of a new African order, one where women lead revolutions, where minerals are refined at home, where African talent meets African opportunity, where the wealth of Africa finally serves Africans. So stay tuned, because this is just the beginning.